Hi everyone, my name is Erica. For my Section 4 book, I chose to do the book named Amal Abound. Amal Abound, published by author Aisha Said, May 8 of 2018, is about a 12-year-old girl named Amal and her family. The setting takes place in Pakistan, and in the very beginning of the story, Amal and her sister Seema, along with their classmates, are in a class with teacher Miss Sadia. Amal usually stays after class with her teacher to help her clean the chalkboard, sweep, or to go over lessons from the previous day. She tells Miss Sadia that unfortunately she won't be able to stay after school that day because her dad wants her home to help with her sisters because her mom's baby would soon be on the way. This is the last time Amal sees Miss Sadia before her life changes unexpectedly. That same day, Amal's mom, who they call Ma, had her baby. Amal is forced to stay home to take care of her younger siblings, Rabia and Safa, and to take over motherly duties because her mom was too tired to do anything. At first, Amal was okay with staying home because she thought her mom's recovery would be fast, but weeks passed and she was still not better. Amal was disappointed because she enjoyed everything about school and really wanted to return. Aside from Amal not being able to attend school, her family and friends seemed upset by the fact that the baby who they named Lubna was a girl and not a boy. They wanted a boy so that he could take over the farm and because he would be offered more opportunities. Anyways, this is where the action really takes place. She decides to go to the market to grab groceries, but ends up being hit by a car. She didn't know at the time that the guy who hit her was Jawad Sahib. So during this moment, he asked her for a pomegranate, but Amal denied his request and responded with, how could he ask her for her pomegranate after he just hit her and didn't give her an apology? The next day, this man, Jawad, shows up to their house, basically requesting that either the dad pay off their debt that they owed him, or Alma be taken to the village and basically be slaved around until they come up with the money that they owe him. Her parents have no choice but to let her go, and while she is there, she gets mistreated and can't stop thinking about her family back home. She slaves around for Nasreen Bahi, who is Jawad's mother. She does get treated well by Nasreen, but to sum it up all, towards the end there's an election, and a man who is running for president is reported as missing. They do believe that there's a relationship between Jawad and his disappearance, so cops keep showing up to their house to basically try to put puzzle pieces together. Alma decides to take action and let someone know that she overheard Jawad and his father Khan's conversation about hiding a body in a different location. She gives details on where exactly the body is at, and a couple days later, police show up to the house and they arrest Khan and Jawad. The people who lived in the village either worked for him to make money or were there because they didn't pay debt. Therefore, in the end, Jawad's mother Nasreen decides to let everyone free, and Alma is relieved because she gets to go back home. Overall, the main themes are power of education, family, courage, and gender discrimination. Gender discrimination because they were all disappointed that their baby wasn't a boy and it was a girl instead. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to a description of visuals. There were no pictures in this book except for the cover art, but I feel like by looking at the cover page, you would be able to know a lot about what the book might be talking about. For instance, when I looked at the cover page, I saw two hands which were held together in a praying position. There are henna patterns on the arm, which I believe are there to show what the hands look like when her sister did her henna for the wedding she attended. There was also a flower wrapped around her arm, which I believe was to indicate how much she liked flowers in their garden, but because they were wrapped around both her arms, I believe it was to show that she was held captive. Lastly, the sun, sky, and the clouds, and the birds, I feel like they were put there, in my opinion, as the way to relate to life and a better future. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about identification of the genre into which this book falls. So the genre that this book falls under is fiction. It is a fiction novel because it is made up. The event that took place in this book isn't real, and the people in this story aren't real. Yes, it might relate to some people's lives, but overall, the author came up with this story with her own imagination. So a direct quote that I like from this book is, if everyone decides nothing can change, nothing ever would. I like this quote because sometimes people, even including me, are scared to take action or actually fear change because they believe what they do or say won't make a difference. So overall, with this quote, it ensures us that if we don't take action, things will not change by themselves. So we must have the confidence and courage to make it happen. All right, so now I ask for discussion of the strengths and weaknesses of this book. The strength in this book was that it described how important education is. The little girl, Amal, did everything she could to teach her siblings/friends about reading. She also did everything she could to continue reading while she was being slaved away. Another strength in this book was that it shows students about courage. Amal had a lot of courage in this book. She stands up against the Khan family, and although she gets punished for it, she shows a lot of bravery. Overall, for strengths, it definitely showed emotional, social, and cognitive development. I would say some weaknesses for this book were maybe the vocabulary. I feel like there were a couple words that I didn't even know until I looked them up. So besides that, it was a great book. So in regards to how this book can be used in a classroom setting, well, the book is intended for 10 to 12-year-olds and people who are in 5th or 6th grade. A fun little art activity that I have in mind is allowing them to paint a classmate's hand with henna. This would obviously be with parents' permission and would be related to this book because henna is a traditional wedding activity in Pakistan that is done the day before the wedding. So it would get them a little interested in what Pakistan does for their weddings. Another activity I would like them to do is a vocab activity. I would have vocabulary divided up into 6 weeks, and each week they would learn 9 new vocabulary words, one which is including their own choice of vocab. So they would go through the book and find a vocab word that they don't know and then look it up themselves. At the end of those 6 weeks, I plan on doing a little vocab quiz to see how many of those words they actually remembered and knew. Overall, I would definitely suggest that a kid reads this book. It does show them that life is not fair. It shows them to have courage, and it shows them how important education is to have.